Good morning, everybody. 9:06 is the time. You're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus as we round out 2025. You know, Charlotte's real estate market has been a bit of a wild ride, right, for a few years, from bidding wars and now record low in inventory to a cooling period, perhaps. So a lot of folks are asking what comes next. Right now, we are joined live in studio by Charlotte realtor David Hoffman of Hoffman Realty, breaking down what's really happening in our market as we look ahead and forge ahead to 2026. David, nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me this morning, Jane.
David, let's start with the good news. What are you excited about?
There's definitely some good news for the Charlotte housing market going into 2026. First and foremost, buyers are getting great deals, and some of the homes are actually in good shape. Another piece of good news is that New York City housing market is actually a seller's market again. There's actually almost 40% more buyers than sellers, which means that a lot of those sellers can now move to Charlotte, which is going to help sellers in the near future.
That does sound like amazing, great news for Charlotte. And so what is the biggest change you've seen then in the Charlotte real estate market over the past year?
Yeah, so inventory is up 16% year over year. That means that if you're trying to sell your home, there's almost 20% more inventory than a year ago, a lot more competition. So that hasn't been good for sellers.
Right.
Some sellers are still selling, but some homes are just sitting and sitting, Jane, which is why it's such a great buyer's market right now.
All right, so last time we talked, the market was hot, or getting that way, and we also know that another big change was the interest rate cut not too long ago, earlier this month, right? And so what does that mean for the housing market?
You know, the good news is that the more that the Fed talks about lowering the short-term rate, you see the mortgage rates go down a couple weeks in advance. So you've been seeing that, not when the short-term rate drops, but actually a week or two in advance. So rates have been falling a little bit, but the better news is that the sticker shock of high interest rates after the pandemic has worn off, and buyers are more excited about lower prices. Prices are at like a 5-year low. It's actually pre-pandemic pricing, and now we have more options for buyers too. So the interest rates aren't as important as they used to be.
Oh, okay. So what does a typical reaction, or not reaction, transaction look like today? Don't want to react to the market, rather, with it coming down. It might feel a little discouraging then for sellers who want to put their house on the market?
So we hurry up to wait for sellers. We want the sellers to get the home ready, the landscaping in the front yard and in the back, the kitchen, the baths. We want the home to just be aesthetically appeasing so that the buyer doesn't think about interest rates and they just fall in love, Jane. And so sellers are still selling, but days in the market is higher. But we're also getting the home ready to go, and then we'll just wait until there's more pendings and actives. So if the home next door just hit the market, we're not going on the market. We want that neighbor to go under contract, and then we go live. And so that there's less competition for our sellers. And so the good news for sellers is that there's a lot of buyers. The bad news for sellers is that buyers are discerning and astute now, and with the higher interest rates, they're ready to go. You know, stock markets are at all-time high after 2025. They have a lot of dry powder, they have a lot of cash, and they have equity, but they know they're in control, they're in the driver's seat, so buyers are willing to wait and be patient.
Okay, so then if you are a seller, what is the best way to get your home competitive so that you can sell it on the market?
There's three things, and you probably have to do all three of those variables. First and foremost, be a buyer as a seller. Look at your home with a fine-tooth comb and make the home look as beautiful and as flawless as possible. Nothing's perfect, but get it close. Second, watch the market and don't put it on the market. Don't make any haste moves. Wait until there's less actives on the market than pendings. Wait until your neighbor goes under contract and then go live immediately. Be ready to go. Kind of like the plane on the runway where you're ready to go and then you wait until your turn. And then last but not least, I love to sell above market value, but right now, you know, you can't underprice a home in this market. Just price it aggressively, and then sometimes you'll even get a bidding war.
Oh, okay. Are you looking at certain areas that might be doing a little bit better?
So that's a great question. Location has never been more important than in 2025, Jane. On a macro scale, you've got New York City, where it's a seller's market again with almost 40% more buyers and sellers. Then you've got Austin, Texas, that got so hot for so many years. There's over 112% more listings than buyers. And so you've got Austin, New York City. Austin is very cool right now, and New York City hasn't been hotter since pre-pandemic. And then Charlotte's kind of a little bit in the middle. On a micro scale, there's areas near Uptown that are really popular. Valentine, South Park, Eastover, Myers Park, Dilworth has always been popular. Western Union County, most of the Union County going into South Carolina. Charlotte's turning into the new Atlanta, where people are willing to go further out to get a good deal, and it's still very attractive.
Very good. And so if homes are spending an average of how many days on the market now? What can we consider normal or average?
Yeah, 40 to 45,
Okay.
as high as 60 in some areas. Some homes are still in bidding wars, but 40 to 45 on average.
40, 45. Okay, so if you see a home, because I just like to peruse through Zillow and see a home on the market for more than 60 days, I'm probably in a better position to negotiate or to make some kind of bid for a lower price, yes?
Absolutely. We tell buyers all the time, if a home's been on the market 60 plus days, find out what terms matter most to the seller, meet them where they are with a quicker close, a shorter deals period, put more money down, but be willing to buy it as is, still doing inspections, and then you can get a great deal on a great home, and the seller's made it in good condition.
Okay, all right, very good. And then for the seller, as well, what if their home is on the market for that long?
Yeah, the seller has a few options. One thing we've been doing is looking at renting it out because rental rates are still at all-time highs, Jane. And that does two things. One, a lot of sellers are getting positive cash flow right now. But two, it just creates more interest where you end up getting a bidding war because buyers want what they can't have. So when a tenant's really ready to move in, then the buyer gets off the fence. What I want people to hear is that there are a lot of ready, willing, and able buyers. They just need a reason to pull the trigger.
If we are to follow the New York market and it's becoming a seller's market again, and Charlotte sort of shadows that, when can sellers be in a better position?
In the past, historically, when New York City and the Bay Area are the two markets that Charlotte lags behind, when they're hot, Charlotte is about 6 to 9 months behind. So I expect a late spring, early summer heat up for the buyer market. A lot of these homes need to go away, and there's tons of buyers getting off the fence. We have more buyers right now than we've had in almost 10 years for the holidays. And come springtime, there's tons of buyers in Charlotte that are ready to go, a lot of them that have sold recently in New York.
Okay, all right, so we're just waiting for everyone to sell and buy and move all the inventory around. Looking at 2026 then, are you feeling optimistic or not?
I am. When we talked earlier this year, we talked about how this market was going to be high highs and low lows, and we kind of experienced that. In 2026, you're going to see the hyper uber luxury market, $3, $4, $5, $10 million in Charlotte. If it's flawless, it's going to sell immediately. The buyers have cash from the stock market. They have cash from dry powder from selling in higher price markets like New York and Bay Area. And then first-time home buyers, they've been saving. They realize interest rates are not getting down to 2-3% anytime in the next decade, Jane. So they're ready to go. As prices fall, they're ready to get off the fence when the payment works. So I see the buyer market going away in early summer, and then it gets hot again, maybe around 4th of July.
Well, it's kind of a typical time to
It
get
usually
active.
starts earlier, though.
Oh, okay.
So come like after the Super Bowl, the buyer market really gets hot. That's going to happen, but the buyers are going to be looking a lot more, and they're not going to pull the trigger as fast. And then come March, April, May, they're going to start pulling the triggers. Homes are going to start going off the market, and then you're going to start seeing more demand and prices going back up going into late summer, early fall.
All right. And any last piece of advice for our folks who want to perhaps maybe enter the Charlotte real estate market or in the area or leave the market, sell their home?
Well, if they're looking to buy, this is probably the healthiest market. I'm 46, Jane. I've never seen a better buyer market in my lifetime. And people are thinking, what about 2008, 9, and 10? Prices were lower back then, but the stock market was almost an eighth of what it is right now. Buyers actually have cash right now. Buyers have buying power that they didn't have even when interest rates were lower. Interest rates were lower, but they had no money. It's kind of like 2009 when there was tax credits for free money and cars were at 0%, but no one had a job. So buyers have jobs. Buyers are making pretty good money. Stock market's an all-time high. And so buyers they're ready to go.
All right. Buyer's choice, sounds like, in
Absolutely.
2026. All right, so good luck to you if you want to buy a home. David, thank you for coming in. Appreciate the words of advice and wisdom and looking ahead. Any last thoughts?
I just want to encourage people that are looking at the Charlotte market or even Raleigh, Wilmington, or Asheville that in North Carolina, if you're able to buy, if you can afford to buy, you should. But if not, renting is a fine option too. And if you're looking to sell, just be honest with yourself. If I were a buyer, would I buy this home?
Very good. I think overall that is good news for us, David. So thank you for coming in. Appreciate the conversation as
Thank you
usual.
for having me, Jane.
Happy New Year.